Hey everybody, it's Casmus Lego, and welcome back to our custom Lego minifigure video. And today I'm showcasing to you 6 brand new minifigures to coincide with the release of Zack Snyder's Justice League, the brand new recut of the 2017 film that none of us really liked, and I'm super excited for this film. So in this video, of course, I've got Ben Affleck Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, The Flash, Cyborg, and Aquaman. And all 6 of these minifigures were made in about 28 days, which was an intense project, and I'll say that after every single project that I've made. I've been spending a lot of time on these guys, and I've been so excited for this, and I've been in such a big DC mood after this, and I'm just so hyped for this, and I managed to make all these and finish these by the release of the digital event later tonight at 11 p.m., so I'm super excited for that. Of course, also making these minifigures just kind of leaves a sad feeling in my soul, because of course this is kind of the end of the DCEU as the original Snyder vision of it was, because you know, we're not going to be able to see Ben Affleck Batman or Henry Cavill Superman anymore, and so that was a big contributing factor when wanting to make these minifigures, was that I never got the chance to make these iconic actors in these iconic roles, and so I saw this as an opportunity to do it, and I took it, and I was super pleased with the outcome of it. But anyway, guys, that's about it for this introduction, so without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. Of course, Ben Affleck Batman is up first, and this is a figure that I've really wanted to make for a long time, but I've never had the opportunity to, and so when the opportunity came to make Justice League Snyder Cut figures, I thought yes, and so I jumped on it, and I am so pleased with the outcome of this Batman. The first time I made an actual Batman in several years, excluding like the weird comic one I made a few years back, so this is great. I mean, I've never really attempted a Batman, which is weird because he's one of the most iconic superheroes of all time. In fact, I think he is probably the most iconic superhero, and I've just never attempted him, like, without whatever. But here he is now, and I think he came out really great. He does have a lot of three-dimensional elements, and you're going to notice that right off the bat with these, like, three-dimensional knee pads down here. He's got three-dimensional, like, the abs pieces down there are also three-dimensional, and he has three-dimensional bands on the arms, and the gauntlets are also three-dimensional, as well as these little parts that come out the sides of the hands. So it's a lot of 3D pieces, and funny enough, the only part that's not really 3D that I wanted to was the bat signal itself on the actual chest itself. I could not get that shape right, no matter how many times I tried to cut it. It just wasn't working, but I think it still came out fine, painted up in my own gunmetal color, which looks great. The pockets, like on the sides of the arms, are three-dimensional with electrical tape, and they look really nice, and the belt is also really nice, made out of actual rubber pieces that I cut up, which looks really cool, and there's lots of gunmetal outlining on this, so that kind of gives it that shine. The cowl is the official piece that the Lego group made a few years back, and all I did was sculpt the chin strap and sand down the sides and give the eyebrows a bit of definition way up there at the top. They're sculpted to make it look a bit more aggressive. Originally, I did have them be a lot rounder. The shapes were different, and of course, I had the gray outlining on it. But halfway through making the figure, I realized that those just looked really weird, and so I took them off and remade them to how the figure looks now, and I think it looks a lot better. It's definitely an improvement. It still kept that little gray line at the top to make it look like there's a bit of a wrinkle in there, and so I really like the way that came out. The facial features are some of my favorite parts of the figure. Really, all they are standard Lego pieces that I simply just painted onto the eyes. I really wanted to give it some realistic looking Lego minifigure eyes, but I couldn't do that. It was just impossible to paint into that, and so all I did was just paint it black with some white dots, and they definitely look really good and give it that creepy Batman look. Batman also has these black custom glove tops that I make, and he has a fabric black cape, and on the back is the exact same belt detail from the front, except that there's no detail on the back because I didn't think it was very necessary to paint anything. So that is basically it for Ben Affleck Batman, and this kind of serves as a tribute figure to him because I'm really disappointed that we didn't get to see more of Ben Affleck take on this role, but it is what it is, and I'm happy I made the figure regardless. Next up is Superman, and he is of course sporting the new black and gray suit rather than the blue and red, of course making it stand out from the original Justice League figures, and so I'm really happy with the outcome of this. It definitely stands out compared to the other figures in my collection, and it's a lot of new techniques. You can notice it's got some sculpting on it a lot in places that I'd never sculpted before, so for instance that includes muscle definitions onto the arms and then the torso as well. I really like the way that looked, so I wanted to give it a shot myself, and so I decided to sculpt them on, and I think it came out pretty well, I would say. I mean, first attempt, and it came out this, so I think it's fine. It's also got these, like the different gunmetal gray parts down here, and there's the rings around the arms, which look really nice. The symbol in the middle, which is known as the House of El Crest, looks really good there. It's sculpted and also painted into a silver, which definitely makes it pop out a lot more. I think it maybe looks a bit fat in some angles, but it definitely has that definition that is not seen on other minifigures, so it's really cool regardless. The legs have their own details with more of the gunmetal kind of shining through and giving more of the definitions down there. And the boots are also fully painted, which looks really nice. Each boot as goes all the way around and has a bit of detailing on the legs that represent the different stitchings or lines or whatever you want to call them on Superman's costume. The final piece of this minifigure is the fully painted head, which I painted, and it's resembled to look like Henry Cavill's likeness, and so I painted that up like 2 or 3 weeks ago, and I think it came out really well, so I'm really happy with that. The hairpiece is the 2016 Superman hairpiece, actually, and so I sanded it down, and so that's basically how I was going to do it, and it came out really well. And he also has a fabric black cape, but this one is more of a squarish kind of formal fabric, and it came out to be more of a straight kind of cut, and so that turned out really well. But other than that, he's actually kind of simplistic, besides more of the sculpting onto the torso and maybe some of the leg details, which were tricky to get right. But other than that, he came out to be a really nice minifigure. Wonder Woman, along with Batman, was another figure that I was really looking forward to making, and just like Batman, she came out to be really cool in her own ways. She has a lot of detail on her, I'm just going to say right off the bat. But I want to get through her accessories first. She does have the shield and the sword of Athena, but I kind of was stretched for time, so I didn't really make the accessories as perfectly as I would have wanted to. And so the sword of Athena is literally just like the Hobbit sword, and it's very simplistic. I mean, there's no detail on it. I wanted to paint onto the blade itself and give it more of the specific detailing, but I just didn't think I had the time. And the sword has a belt of weathering detail, actually, which looks really nice. It's got some like dirt and different detail on that, so that looks pretty cool. I'll go ahead and remove both of the accessories to kind of show you the rest of the minifigure here. And the rest of the figure is just a lot of paint work, and it was very challenging, but it was some of the earliest stuff that I started on this minifigure, so it's like the earliest work that I put into them, and so they came out to be very well. And it like I mentioned, it's just a lot of detail on this figure. The torso specifically has some of the most detailed work that I've done all year, and like just look at the gauntlets. I fully painted these, by the way. They look pretty official because they look like literally the official arms, and all I did was just paint onto the arms to complete the pattern. But no, I fully painted both of those arms, and everything on this figure is actually 100% painted except for the headpiece, which I kept from the official Lego figure because I really like the crown piece on it. The waistcoat down here is also three-dimensional. I think it's a bit long in some areas, but it definitely looks like the waistcoat, so there's no problem there. The lasso of Hestia right there on the side is there as well. It's a detail I did not want to leave out, and that is literally a wire that is coiled around and painted in a gold color. And so there's not much going on there. It's okay. It looks fine. The legs are back there, are flesh tone, and you can notice there's actually a bit of like flesh tone in the middle of that brown and red, and that's because I had to actually use Robin legs because that's all I really had on me at the time. And so I just kind of painted on some flesh where they would be flesh, and you kind of can't tell the rest of the figure from from the tan as well. So I'm gonna go ahead and I guess give the second expression on it just because just for fun here. The boots down at the bottom are also very nicely painted, and they are all kind of gold. And gold is particularly a very hard color to work with. It can be very choppy, it can be very unresponsive, and overall give you a really rough time painting a minifigure. But thankfully I was able to overcome a lot of the difficulty with the gold paint to achieve this look. And there's many different red latches going through the sides, but like I mentioned, all the parts of this minifigure came together as a whole to make this really nice Wonder Woman figure, and I couldn't be happier with the end result. Next is the Ezra Miller Flash, and this is a character that I really enjoyed in the original film, and I think a lot of other people may have enjoyed him as well, and so I'm really looking forward to seeing him more of Ezra Miller in the Justice League Snyder cut. And so when you look at this figure, you might think this is probably one of the more complex figures, and while a lot of the paintwork was challenging, the hardest part of this minifigure was by far the little parts that stick off the body. They're actually really small sculpted clay bits that stick off of the torso and off of the legs and off of the arms. I hated this stuff. This stuff would not stick on no matter how hard I tried, and I literally had to struggle with this to get them on place. And not every single line is on the torsos and everything, because simply I was just growing really impatient with this process, and so I just wanted to finish it as soon as possible. But I'm going to go ahead and bend it out of the way so you can kind of see the rest of the detail on there on the figure. He's got bands on the arms, he's got bands on the torso, he's got bands even on like the waist down there, and the back also has its own set of little bands. And so that was all madness on top of painting the rest of the armor, or the suit I guess you could call it, because instead it technically is a suit. And so it does have all these sculpted bits. the shoulders are sculpted, and the helmet is actually the official Lego piece that looks really fantastic. I love that piece, and so I painted it in red and added this little dark red line and painted all the black on top of it just to make it look a lot better. And it came out to be a really nice, smooth product that I'm pretty satisfied with. And I'd say the probably only downfall of this minifigure is probably the legs. They don't exactly match with the rest of the figure, but that's okay. They look fine to me, but something about it just looks a bit weird. They kind of look like band-aids, maybe like the knee pads, because they have just brown lines. And so this was definitely a challenge, but it wasn't anything that was incredibly hard. So I got through with it, and it was actually a pretty fun process when I look back on it. He does have some red like gauntlets, and those turned out fine. The headpiece is the official Barry Allen head, and so he's got the official head there, and it's got like some it's got like the neck pieces painted, and it's got some more details there to kind of represent where more of the armor pieces and the helmet just slides on top of it. Standard stuff, you've seen this. The lightning bolt in the center is a piece of electrical tape that I cut up to give that shape. And it's the same method I do with the knee pads down there. They're also made with the exact same way with pieces of electrical tape that are sanded up. And the painting is, of course, all 360 on the entire figure, just like the rest of them. And I think I forgot to mention also that Wonder Woman also has some cuffs, and I did mention that. But yeah, Flash definitely, he's got these, they're actually base black legs because he had that giant like black suit underneath, and so I wanted to make sure I captured that. But yeah, besides all of that and the more specific details, that's really it for Flash, and so we can go on to definitely the most, I wouldn't say complex, but a lot more challenging figures in this lineup. And this is exactly what I mean of the more intimidating and complex figures. This is Cyborg, and I wasn't sure how I was really going to go about it. Originally I was thinking about painting it, but I realized what a pain that would have been to paint all the different individual pieces. And so taking some inspiration from MGF, I sculpted onto the minifigure, of course, because what else was I going to do? And I mentioned in one of the videos I made a while back was that the arms are kind of random because I didn't exactly know how to base them off of. And so I figured out that really I didn't have to be as strict as I really should have been, so I could have been a lot more freestyle, and that's what I did. I kind of just sculpted wherever and just had a lot of fun with sculpting it, and so it turned an intimidating figure into a fun project, and that was awesome. The sanding on the legs was something that I really liked and I really wanted to do, and so I did that, and they have their own sculpted bits. I think I sanded a bit too far so that they're like completely detached, but that gives it a lot more of the robotic and unnatural feel to it, so it looks really cool. And he has a lot of the gunmetal like outlinings inside lots of the different sculpting bits, and from the back, turn the back, there's some more detail that kind of want to hide because it's not amazing. The helmet is the official piece that I painted over, and added a lot of the black lines to give it more of that detail. And the head is the official head, except all I did was paint onto the neck, and it's pretty simplistic. So there's one thing I want to mention is that this figure was pretty, straightforward to make. It was just sculpting it and then painting onto it afterward, and painting onto it was literally painting on like the layer of gunmetal gray and then going over with silver. So it was actually a lot more straightforward than I was expecting. So that was a nice surprise for me. And he's got some silver arms here, which look pretty cool. And one last detail I want to point out is the red inside of the torso that kind of looks like it shines. It's a nice detail, and it definitely adds to the figure. And one more 360 around. This was just an intimidating figure to make, but also a lot of fun in many ways, and so rewarding also for my sculpting skills. And so I would say it was a successful test, if you will. And we'll go on to the last minifigure. Last but not least is Aquaman, the rightful king of Atlantis. And you look at this minifigure and compare it to the others, he is just a lot of gold detail, and I have such a history with this minifigure that it's just insane. I'm really glad that I've finished with the figure and I'm showcasing it to you right now. I mean, it's like I mentioned with Wonder Woman. Gold is just really hard to work with for me, and so this was, a mix of gold plus a random color that I had to mix that's like a dirty green / brown / black / gray mix, because it's not exactly like a dark green, it's kind of like a dirty green in the film, and so I think this came out really well. This is, of course, Jason Momoa's original outfit that he wore in the Justice League, and so basing it off of references from that was challenging because there's not a whole lot of great lighting in those scenes, and so I'm pleased with this. It could be better, But you know, for what I had to work with in the time span, I made this in like 2 or 3 days, and so that's pretty impressive for my skills. And I think it just came out really well. I'm not going to go over every little bit of detail. You can see it for yourself. There's so much on this minifigure and so much that I packed in that I feel like there's just other things I should probably talk about, like the Trident. The Trident is a pretty, it's the original, it's a standard Lego piece. It's not anything special. It's literally just the original piece. And the reason why I used the original piece is you know, simply because I wasn't aware that I was going to be able to really add on to many details. It looked fine the way it was. Obviously, it's missing a lot of the, I think it's missing 2 pieces in the center that need to go there, but it's fine for what it is, and I think it's a pretty standard Lego piece, and it's already the right color, so there's no painting that needs to be done on it, so I just left it as is. The hairpiece, though, I put a lot of effort into. It's the standard Lego hairpiece, but what I did is I washed it in my chestnut color to give it that kind of wet look that Jason Momoa has in the film, but also, you know, because he has lots of those, like, tan kind of highlights, and so that was very important to capture, and I think it came out really well. And one other detail I want to point out is I like all the 3-dimensional elements on the belt, actually. Like the belt buckle itself is 3D, as well as some little patches, and like in the back there's some 3D bits as well. Very nice minifigure overall, and it's a great figure to kind of cap off the Justice League and the month that I spent working on these minifigures. Alright everybody, that is going to be it for this video. I hope you enjoyed the 6 individual close-ups on all the minifigures. I hope you had a good time watching it, and obviously this is probably the only time you'll see me making a Ben Affleck Batman or a Henry Cavill Superman, because of course, you know, their contracts are not exactly returning, and each franchise is being rebooted anyway, so I'll be making minifigures for the reboots, but I just wanted to kind of throw in my minifigures for my take of these iconic characters, because I have, like I mentioned, I haven't done a Wonder Woman or a Batman in a really long time, and so this is my only outlet to do it, and I'm so happy I decided to take it, and I'm really excited to see what Zack Snyder's original vision was, and after seeing the original 2017 one, I'm really looking forward to how this new version will turn out. So yeah, that's going to be it for this video. I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you next time. Goodbye.